Welcome to this explainer brought to you by Forge College. Let's just jump right in, shall we? So last time we took a pretty painful look at the epic, absolute train wreck failures of early digital cash. We saw exactly what happens when systems just totally collapse under mismanagement and fraud. But today, we're flipping the script. We're going to look at how those very failures actually laid the groundwork for modern architectural miracles. We're taking the technical and social lessons from the past to see exactly how they shaped the features in the digital currencies we use today.
Remember those catastrophic operator insolvencies we covered? Turns out, handing all your money to some opaque, centralized operator and just crossing your fingers? Yeah, terrible financial strategy. It's literally like giving your life savings to a shady mail carrier who promises, "Oh, I won't look inside the envelope," and then being completely shocked when both the carrier and your cash just mysteriously vanish. So the fundamental question that haunted early developers was this: how do we actually build a digital cash system that doesn't rely on blind trust? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're hitting 1. The digital cash dilemma. 2. Envelopes versus public postcards. 3. Blind signatures. 4. Stopping the double spend. 5. The design trilemma. And finally, 6. The modern blueprint. Let's get to it. Section 1. The digital cash dilemma. Single point of failure. A whole decade of financial disasters really boils down to two simple equations. First, centralized control equals a single point of failure. And second, opacity equals distrust. Because early operators wildly mismanaged their reserves and abused privileged data, designers quickly realized, hey, we absolutely need systems that preserve user privacy but without surrendering accountability. Section 2. Envelopes versus public postcards. A simple mental model. Imagine two completely different ways to send a message. On the left side, you've got a sealed envelope. This represents private payments. The contents, who is sending what to whom, are totally hidden, which is fantastic for privacy, right? But there's a huge catch. It requires a trusted carrier. If that carrier decides to open it, tamper with it, or just chuck it in a dumpster, well, you're out of luck. It's a massive single point of failure. Now, on the right side, we have the public postcard. This is our transparent ledger. Any observer can read the history. It's great because it removes the need for that single trusted carrier. Literally everyone can verify the transaction. But, obviously, your privacy is completely gone. Anyone can read a postcard. So, the absolutely crucial point here is figuring out the vulnerabilities in these models. Whenever you're looking at a proposed currency feature, you've got to ask yourself, but who holds the sealing key? Who actually controls the envelope? In early digital cash, trust was placed entirely in a private operator. If they go bankrupt or start acting maliciously, the whole system just collapses. This fatal vulnerability meant designers had to find a technical fix to shift trust away from a single carrier. Section 3. Blind signatures, ensuring privacy. A blind signature is exactly what it sounds like. Imagine you need a bank to sign a digital token to make it valid, right? But you don't want the bank to know the token's serial number, because then they could just track exactly how you spend it. So you put the token inside an envelope with a piece of carbon paper. The bank signs the outside of the envelope, the signature transfers right through the carbon paper onto the token, and the bank never even sees what they actually signed. It's brilliant. This cryptographic method ensures what we call unlinkability. The bank cannot correlate payments to individuals, effectively stopping them from spying on you or censoring your transactions. But, as always in tech, there's a catch. Sure, we gained incredible privacy, but strong unlinkability still requires trusting the central signer. We are still heavily relying on a central bank to ensure tokens aren't just magically duplicated. If they go insolvent, boom, our private tokens become completely worthless overnight. Section 4. Stopping double spend. No central view. And this brilliantly illustrates how we solve the double spend without giving a central bank a global, creepy surveillance view of everything. Let's map out the exact step-by-step journey. Step 1, we still use that blind signature to get a valid private token. But step 2 is where the magic really happens. Instead of relying on a central bank to check for duplicates, we publish a cryptographic hash. Think of it like a unique digital fingerprint of the spent token straight to a public bulletin board. Then, step 3, we verify this immutable history via chained blocks. Basically, we've taken the privacy of the envelope, but posted the proof of spending onto a public postcard so that everyone can verify it, totally removing that single point of failure. This entire process relies on something called timestamping. Think of timestamping as stapling a time-stamped receipt right onto our public postcard. It creates a historical record that everyone can see and agree upon. It's a technical safeguard against disputes. You literally cannot double spend a token because the public timestamp proves exactly when it was first used. And the best part, it does all of this without giving invasive visibility back to a central operator. Section 5, the design trilemma, privacy versus transparency. When we map out these mechanisms, we quickly realize, hey, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Every single choice has a cost. If you prioritize privacy with blind signatures, your trade-off is a loss of auditability. It becomes way harder to catch bad actors. If you prioritize transparency with public ledgers to stop fraud, well, you lose your privacy completely. And if you prioritize resilience through decentralization, the trade-off is just massive, massive systemic complexity. By the way, if you want to dive deeper into these specific cryptographic trade-offs, Forge College has some absolutely fantastic learning programs you should check out. Because early projects completely face-planted when they leaned too far in any one direction, modern systems attempt a hybrid approach. They try to mix both worlds. They use selective disclosure proofs that mix public commitments with private payloads. Imagine it like putting your sealed envelope inside a completely transparent, time-stamped sleeve. The public can see that a transaction happened and verify it, sure, but the inner payload remains totally private unless an auditor is explicitly handed a key to view it.
Section 6. The modern blueprint. Bringing it together.
Okay, so here are the 3 concise mental principles that you absolutely must take away from this explainer. First, always use the envelope versus postcard access to map out privacy against auditability. Second, understand that timestamping isn't just some cool tech trick, it's a safeguard against the very real social problem of contested history. And third, resilience doesn't just happen by accident. It requires explicit economic controls to remove those single points of failure that completely doomed early digital cash. Now that you understand why we need verifiable ordering and public timestamping, we kind of have to ask, how do we actually get thousands of decentralized computers to agree on that history without a central boss telling them what's what? Well, building that robust fault tolerance is exactly what we're going to explore in our next lesson, Foundations in Early Agreement Problems. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. From now on, whenever you look at a white paper or see some brand new consensus protocol, ask yourself, which historical failure is this actually trying to solve? Is it fixing an operator abuse problem, a censorship issue, or a double spend vulnerability? Keep that question in mind as you continue your journey. Thank you so much for joining me today. Definitely head over to forge.college to explore more about this and other awesome Web3 topics. See you next time.